Maybe just to start with a few reflections. One, on prioritization. I think it's really important that we acknowledge that we did not choose this. Humanitarians didn't wake up one morning and say, let's prioritize to the most life-saving of the life-saving in the most crisis-affected places on the planet. Our funding has been cut to the point that we are back a decade in funding levels, a decade. The funding that we received by the end of last year was about the amount of funding that we received in 2016. 2016. That funding is a fraction, the tiniest fraction of global expenditure on the military and on war. So this is not about prioritization being a choice by humanitarians, it's prioritization that's a choice by politicians. And I think it's critical that when we have these discussions, we put the emphasis on those who deserve it, because this is a question of what our collective priorities are in the world. This goes back to what Dr. Faisal said. This is a question of whether we want the wars to stop and we want women and girls to be able to live in safety, in security with the services that they need. That's the question for the world. The question for humanitarians, because many in the world have chosen to prioritize waging war, is what do we do in the middle of them? And that is a difficult, excruciating set of decisions that humanitarians have to wake up with every single day. Because no one should have to choose, everyone has said it today, no one should have to choose between a woman being able to deliver safely and a child being treated for malnutrition. But that is the situation that we have been placed in as humanitarians. So what does this mean for women and girls? Number one, sexual and reproductive health care is life-saving. And I say that because in so many of the discussions that I've been in, the question of what is life-saving comes up. It is literally to save a life, and there is frankly nothing more life-saving than ensuring a woman can deliver a child safely. It saves a woman, saves a child in that one coordinated set of actions that incredible people do every single day. So number one, this work is life-saving. Number two, when we have these discussions, we've got to ensure that the advocacy is there to keep this on the table as a life-saving act. Right? That it is up there with anything else that people think of when they think of life-saving. And that's on us. That's on us to do effective advocacy, to put the evidence base, and the evidence base is there. Right? The evidence base is there. So we have to keep putting it on the table. Number three, that where we have the power and the control, do a few things. First, that we ensure that we use the funds that we have to prioritize this. We don't see it everywhere, but we do see it in some places. Where we've got good examples, how do we uplift them? How do we replicate them? I was just looking this morning at what are the examples recently. December 2025, allocation in the DRC, and we have sexual and reproductive health care and survivors of gender-based violence, both prioritized, one allocation, along with multi-purpose cash and a few other things. We know we can do this. Let's do it. Let's do it well. Let's point to the good examples. Number two, in terms of visibility, women-led organizations and the place they have at the table is critical. From the OCHA perspective, this means a space at the table on the advisory boards as to how our pooled funds are used. We now have women-led organizations on 18 of 21 advisory boards for our pooled funds. A space at the table means sitting at the humanitarian country team. And that, by the way, means that some of us international actors need to be willing to yield that seat for women-led organizations to sit at those tables. And there are more and more globally. And the last point that I would say is going back to, again, I think Dr. Faisal, Dr. Aisha, both sitting in situations of war and conflict, that we've an obligation on advocacy, especially as international actors with the voices that we have around a few very basic points. Number one, that the wars need to end. Number two, that when wars are happening, women and girls are protected within them, because we know and we see every day that this is not happening. But we have to ground ourselves in law and legal frameworks and hold people accountable. And number three, and this for me is a big one, that we take it away from just the numbers, because the numbers are big and the numbers are scary, but the numbers, frankly speaking, aren't human and they don't impact humans. I'm a woman. I've given birth to 2 children. When I sit and speak to another woman who has given birth to their child in an extreme situation, we can relate to that. How do we bring the individual stories? How do we bring the individual stories, both of the women who are delivering, of the girls who've been raped, in a way that is dignified, respectful, but human? That they aren't dehumanized in the way that we tell the stories as humanitarian actors. And lastly, that the midwives and others who are doing this phenomenal work every day are respected for the individuals who they are. And I think it was Dr. Aisha who spoke to how we support midwives to support women. That whole piece, there's a woman midwife who I follow in Gaza, midwife Renad. She's a phenomenal woman. She works for UK Med. And I follow her because she tells the truth of her own experience waking up and doing this every day in a way that I think midwives around the world would wake up and acknowledge reflects their own experience. So how do we close the gap between the woman in crisis and a woman elsewhere in the world, such that we can bring back the empathy that, frankly speaking, is the counter force to the apathy, the lack of solidarity, and the willingness to wage war? Thank you.